So this is my second info night. So I'm a little bit nervous, to be completely honest with you guys, and this is the most people who've been here, so I'm super excited. But I think you guys can all just go with me if I look down at some notes. It's honestly just because I value your time, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you all good information. So given my nerves, I like to just make sure that I don't screw anything up, so I write notes down. I think we can all relate to that. Yeah, so I'm a birth doula, and just raise your hand if you know what that is. Confidently know what that is. So that's most people's answer. A birth doula is, there's a lot of ways of answering that question because our job is so multifaceted. We do so much for pregnant people and their partners. We do so much for them as a family. It's really important in 2018 now that we try to keep our language inclusive. So you'll notice that I say pregnant person, partner. Oftentimes it's husband and wife or pregnant lady, mom, but not everybody identifies as that. So I try to be understanding for everyone. So as a birth doula, I work with people in pregnancy and at birth and then in the early postpartum. So in the first 6 weeks after they've had a baby. I support them in any way that they need support. So for some women, that's a lot of talking. That's a lot of emotional support. Maybe they need someone to direct them to local resources, or they just need somebody who's maybe been there before. I myself am a mom of 2 kids. So maybe they're just looking for somebody who understands what they're going through and they don't have that kind of support network in their community around them. So that could be something that I do. I could also, at their birth, be a super hands-on, somebody who's giving you lots of massage and lots of physical comfort support measures. But that may not be the case. And so honestly, I could probably talk the whole hour about what it could look like to have a doula. But I'll definitely just leave that open to you guys to keep asking questions if there's anything more that you want me to touch on. The gist of what I do is I make sure that during pregnancy, at your birth, the entire portion of your birth, however long you want me to be there for, and after you've had your baby, I make sure that you just know that so much of what you're going through is normal. I'm super passionate about normalizing all the crazy emotions, all the crazy physical changes that you go through when you're pregnant, you know, in the dynamics of your relationship with your partner. I only have 2 kids, but they're both 2.5 and under. So I myself am going through the relationship ups and downs and the craziness of what it looks like to be married and have a baby. So I can relate to a lot of that. So I, again, I'm just super passionate about normalizing and making sure that women know that it's okay to, feel certain ways, but that, you have to talk about it, and that having a safe space to talk about those things is really the best way to fix it. Because once you address the problem, maybe not the problem, but just address those emotions, then we can work through it, and quite often they don't end up being as scary or as kind of crippling as they were until you started talking about it. So kind of how I relate to Reza is part of my job as a doula, as I touched on, is linking my clients and people who have questions to good local resources and making sure that they get the right answers. Like Dr. Google, Dr. YouTube, it's awesome that we have those resources, but we can all attest to getting the wrong answer to something, or looking at one thing and then you spiral down the dark hole and start thinking that you've got this crazy uncurable disease, and that's just not what it is. So often I try to make it clear to my patients or to my clients that you can ask me that question and I'll save you from Googling. Come Google, you're with Mel the doula, and I'll give you all the right answers, and I'll give you not just my opinion, because that's not what I do. I give you a wealth of information, and then you base what your opinion is or what you decide to do on that information. So I'm unbiased, no judgment, you do you, and I just want to make sure that you feel good in whatever choices you decide to make. So I know Reza works really well with pregnant women and women who have just had babies. Some of you women here in this classroom work with him. X-Ray, his wife, can definitely attest to that. And so I was just really passionate about trying to give women some more information on what it looks like to work out when you're pregnant after you've had a baby. And I've recently come across some information, so I just want to make sure that I get it right. it's super important that as women, and you know, it is specific to the women in the group, that we deserve the dignity of having a body that works well. So thinking that we should just live with a little bit of bladder leakage, or that it's just part of what you do when you have a baby is having a body that isn't quite up to shape and doesn't quite work as well as it did before having a baby, is just not how we have to live. And so the more that we have those conversations, and really that's all it is, it's just having a conversation, then we can understand like, oh, there's ways around that, there's ways to fix that, and there's ways to support yourself when you're working out to do it safe so that you have safe body movements. And that's where Reza comes in. So you guys all mostly know Reza, but Reza is a local NCR level 3 CrossFit trainer. So yeah, I'll let him tell you guys what he does.
Thanks, Mel. And guys, Mel's, like she mentioned, one of Lex's really good friends, and she's been super helpful with us throughout our pregnancy. Always available to answer questions and stuff. Yeah. So, okay, let's get started. I'm gonna talk to you guys about some of the do's and don'ts of pregnancy. I've got it all written up here. Yeah, let's go. CrossFit has a charter. Okay, the charter is mechanics, consistency, intensity. I think as whether you're pregnant or not, you should follow this charter. But if you're pregnant, you absolutely need to follow this charter. It doesn't need to be related specifically to CrossFit. If you're going to exercise, you should follow this charter. Mechanics means that you're moving well. Your technique, your form is good. Consistency is that you're able to maintain that technique and good mechanics consistently throughout several repetitions of a movement. And only then will we add intensity. If you're pregnant, that piece is very, very particular, and we'll kind of touch on that a little bit. Also, one thing I just want to talk about before I talk about anything else is I'm not a doctor, so if you guys, like, I'm not going to be covering anything super medical. And so if you guys have like more medically related questions, you can ask them to me, but I'll probably, if you are pregnant or you are planning on getting pregnant, I'd probably refer you to your OB/GYN or your family doctor. Yeah. So, pregnancy or exercise is super good for you if you're pregnant. I think Mel told me the other day that there was like a study that just came out, like Health Canada just released a study, like talking essentially about how important it is to exercise during your pregnancy. So what I'm going to do is talk to you guys about how to do that safely. With this charter goes hand in hand training or exercising somewhere where there's someone watching you that will be able to hold you accountable to everything that I'm going to talk about tonight. So if you're you know, you have a Movati membership and you plan on doing things on your own, I don't recommend that. I recommend that you guys go do it under the watchful eye of someone who is somewhat knowledgeable in this stuff. That's my recommendation to you guys. Because as you will see, there are some do's and don'ts of pregnancy that, like I said, you might not be able to hold yourself accountable to. PRs, so personal records. Don't worry about those when you're pregnant. They're not important. A lot of you guys will probably laugh at it and say like that's obvious, but a lot of women actually gain mass when they're pregnant, and we've actually had pregnant women like PR lifts like their deadlift and stuff because they're heavier and they're able to lift more weight. So just be aware of that if you are pregnant. You know, you're a little bit stronger, right? Do you guys know how women's feet? You hear about this? Women's feet grow like an extra shoe size when they're pregnant. Some women's do. I don't think yours have. No. But think about it this way: like the weight that they're carrying on their belly is like pretty much like a weight vest that they're wearing at any given time for 9 to 10 months, right? And that makes them stronger, right? Like that makes them, they're able to support more. So what I think, this is my theory, but I think their feet, the muscles in their feet actually expand, and that's why they grow. So some women will actually gain strength during pregnancy. So just something to be aware of. We don't want to go for like a PR. You know, if your previous PR was 200 pounds and it feels really easy, let's just call it there. Non-related pregnancy injuries. We don't want to be training so hard that we're acquiring these. All right. So If you guys are doing something and it doesn't feel good, or you have a little bit of a shoulder tweak, don't stop what you're doing. Early on in pregnancy, you might hurt your shoulder and it might not feel like a big deal, but as you progress through your pregnancy, you start to become really uncomfortable, and you're gonna want to wish that shoulder worked properly for you. So take it easy when you guys are exercising. Don't push things too hard. Sleep and nutrition, super important, especially post pregnancy. Okay. New moms, Mel, I'm sure you can agree to this, or any moms, don't get much sleep. It's a fact. The last thing you want to do is, long night, you didn't get much sleep, but you need to get your workout in. Get the sleep. Opt for the sleep. That's going to be a healthier alternative for you guys. And then nutrition. I could talk about that a whole bunch, but before we even talk about exercising, nutrition is super important. Like I said, we're not going to dig too deep into that, but if you guys, want to know an idea of a better, what you could do for your nutrition, we could talk about that later. You guys can message me. Relative intensity. Dawn is and I'm so glad you two are sitting together. Dawn has been to regionals, postpartum, right? So extremely competitive CrossFit athlete. Lex.
I have not been to regionals.
Lex has been to regionals to watch me, but that's the end of the line. Lex, I had to force Lex to come to the gym before pregnancy, and I'd say we averaged once a week, right?
Once a month.
Okay, thank you.
He's like, I'm just trying to get
So, a workout a workout that's going to be scaled for her pregnancy is going to be a different workout for her pregnancy. Her scaled pregnancy workout might look a lot different than her scaled pregnancy workout, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. Every two athletes are completely different. If you're in the same room as another pregnant woman, and she's doing things that are way out of your league, don't feel the need to try and keep, she was more fit than you before her pregnancy. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Or she had a different range of movement than you did before
Yeah.
your pregnancy.
Yeah. So we define fitness differently.
Yeah.
We have a couple girls here that are, in very good shape, and they're able to do a lot more. Joji Gare, when she was pregnant with her Leo, she was. It's almost like you walk into the gym and you wouldn't think she was pregnant. That's because she was extremely fit before her pregnancy, and for her that was a step down. So that's just something to be aware of. Other than that, guys, before we talk about actual specific stuff, do you guys know has everyone flown on a plane? This is how I like to think of exercise in pregnancy, pre, during, and post. You guys know how the little masks, when they give the video of the masks falling down, they're make sure you put on your own mask before you put on your kid's mask, and the lady will put her mask on and then put her kid's mask on. It's kind of how I see exercising during pregnancy. You got to take care of yourself before you can safely take care of your kid, right? If you're not taking care of yourself and you're only taking care of your kid, that's not going to end well for the mom. They're going to crash and burn. It's not going to be good. So if you are planning on having kids, just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Okay. Sleep, nutrition, fitness, whatever that is, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Cool. All right. Pre-pregnancy, don't have much to talk about. Get in good shape. If you're planning on having kids and you're not pregnant now, but you're going to be we're going to start trying in 6 months. That's a great time to start getting in shape. The better shape you are in before pregnancy, the easier pregnancy might be, and the easier labor might be. Okay, I'm not guaranteeing anything, okay, but generally speaking, it will be better, okay?
And as a doula, part of my job is to, I was saying, give you guys evidence-based statistical information so that you can just come to your own conclusions as you wish. And so what Reza said is completely supported in the evidence that if you do have a healthier pre-pregnancy and pregnancy lifestyle, now that doesn't necessarily mean CrossFit, but that just means if you're active, if you're doing healthy movement, you don't have to be skinny either. If you're just feeling healthy in your body, it will help you because labor is not called labor for nothing. It is the most labor-intensive act of your life, and it will require the most energy of anything in your life. I'm not saying that to scare you, but it is true. So there's absolutely nothing wrong in saying that if you are healthy in your activity and healthy in your movement, that it will help you in your labor. There's nothing, like, you can't deny that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. First trimester, first 3 months, first 12 weeks, right? Some general rules that you want to follow. Guys, these rules are going to apply to the second trimester, and the second trimester rules are going to apply to the third trimester. But your heart rate, you want to keep a relatively low heart rate. What we practice here is the talk test. So if someone's pregnant and I know they're pregnant, I'll go up to them and I'll talk to them and I'll be like, "Hey Dawn, how's it going?" And if she's like, "It's going really good," I'll be like, "Dawn, you gotta chill out. Like you gotta calm down a little bit. You're pregnant. Chill out. You should be able to talk to me." If I go up to Dawn and she's able to talk to me, we're good. Okay. Yeah.
Why is that?
Sorry.
Why is that?
I don't know the specifics, but I have heard, like, I don't want to freak anyone out because I know there are women that have, like, completely lost their breath with, like, during their pregnancy, and, like, you know, a lot of women sometimes don't even know they're pregnant during this time. It's harmful to the baby. Like, I don't know if I'm right in saying this. I'm not going to say it.
You're having a hard time catching your breath. You're not getting enough oxygen.
That's,
either
yeah,
to feed it.
that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
but I don't want to scare people with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Dawn said is
But it's
accurate.
okay.
Sweet.
Like it
Yeah.
is scary. So
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of like the myths and worries and real big fears that are wrapped around pregnancy, like even the idea of going in a hot tub, in a hot body of water in pregnancy, and you might have heard someone say, "Oh, you're going to cook your baby like an egg." Well, quite frankly, when you're in your second, third trimester and you're visibly out to here, your baby is past the point of being able to be fried like an egg, to be quite frank. And so, you know, it's not even like you would be able to do that. It's more so to understand that in the first trimester, when your baby, when your fetus is at its, in some ways, most vulnerable, then we definitely want to be as careful as we can, if we are aware that we're pregnant, about our heart rate and our nutrition, and just making sure that the environment we are creating for that baby to grow is good.
Yeah. Also, on that note, make sure that if you guys are going to be exercising and you know you're pregnant, you just let your trainer know. You might want to keep it a secret, which is totally respectable, but just ask them in confidence. If they're professional at all, they'll respect that. But just let them know. Just, you know, pull them aside. "Hey guys, I just want to let you know I'm pregnant." That's all. You know, I know at our gym we have a very, like every single woman that has become pregnant has felt comfortable enough to come tell the coaches. We've kept it a secret, and we've just been able to give them that extra kind of attention that they deserve.
I think, sorry,
yeah.
speaking from experience, I do think that's something that you should share with your friends, because personally I felt like we wanted to keep it a secret, and then I was told by a friend that I should let the coaches know just for safety. Like, what we do out there and in any gym situation is kind of extraordinary. So if you are short of breath or you need to sit down, you know, they're not worried about you because they know that you've got something else going
Exactly.
on. So just, you know, they are, it's a professional environment and they will keep it confidential, but just remember that.
And you do deserve to be treated differently. Like, you are considered like a VIP, if you will, right? So yeah, let whoever you're working with know. Morning sickness, you might have morning sickness and you might not want to exercise, okay? Don't force it, all right? You might have morning sickness and working out might make you feel better. Go for it. If you don't have any morning sickness, work out, go for it. You guys might exercise and it might not feel good. Don't do it. Listen to your body, okay? Abby, I know like you had a pretty rough go in terms of morning sickness, and we didn't see you a lot for the first 3 months. And you know, I think Abby did the right thing. She didn't force it upon herself. She just kind of took it easy and didn't exercise. And now we're seeing you a lot more frequently, which is great.
And maybe Abby can attest that it's not just all morning, right? Whoever made up
Yeah,
that
that's
word
right.
Still
is
have
so
it.
mistaken. Yeah.
So
Still going.
yeah,
Jeez.
I mean, it's different for everyone. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I've talked to women who have had it for 9 months, women who have had it for a couple weeks, women who haven't had it at all. Yeah. It also helps, you know, if you have morning sickness and it helps you to exercise. If I'm coaching you guys, or I'm your trainer at whatever gym, and you run to the bathroom, I'm not panicking. I'm not like, holy shit, what just happened? Like, oh my god, what did I do? I know that Abby has a little bit of morning sickness and she's not feeling too hot today, so she's going to the bathroom. Cool. Second trimester, middle chunk, 12 to 24 weeks. Sweet. Again. Oh, sorry, I skipped one, guys. Risk of falling. First trimester, and I don't mean like tripping and falling on the ground, like you're going to be okay. But, you know, rope climbs, you know, risk of falling from like 10 feet high, or risk of falling on like a sharp object. Pretty much things that we'd be concerned about before pregnancy, we want to just be extra cautious about. So if I find you're pregnant, I'm not going to have you climb ropes in the first trimester. There's no point, and there's other movements that we're going to talk about later that I could substitute for that movement. Second trimester, since we're on that topic, risk of falling is a little bit more relevant. The bump is starting to show for most women. I might, instead of a box jump, I might get you guys to do step ups. So the risk of falling is, you know, now we're starting to worry about actually like falling like chest down on the floor kind of thing. If it happens, it happens. We live in Canada. There's ice out there, right? I'm sure you'll be fine. But, you know, just if you can avoid falling, we're going to avoid falling, okay? The vena cava, okay? That is it's a nerve that's exposed in your back during pregnancy. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if you apply too much pressure on it, it cuts off your blood supply and the baby's blood supply.
Well, your blood supply
to the baby. So lying on your back is not recommended. In a gym, you know, we do lie on our backs quite often. Like, you know, anything we're doing lying on our back on the floor, or like, you know, today we bench pressed at the gym. Did you bench press?
No.
Good. Who's your coach? Was it Nate?
No, it's Derek.
Okay. But yeah, we don't want women pressing on their back because that puts a lot of pressure on the vena cava. So that's just something to be mindful of. I feel like women don't sleep on their back either at that point.
It generally just doesn't become comfortable. So
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of right on time when you should be being careful of those movements. You don't really want to be doing that movement anyway, so it's kind of nice because you don't have to put much thought into it. You don't really want to be lying there like this.
Yeah. The bump, like I said, the bump is starting to show for most women at this point in pregnancy. The bump is it's going to test your balance a little bit. Not too much in the second trimester, but it's definitely, life's different. Like you're anteriorly loaded. You know, your balance is a little bit off. You know, we do a lot of barbell movements. We're going to have to start like changing what we're used to, you know, working around the stomach and stuff. So, you know, nothing crazy there, just be aware of it. And diastasis recti. So this is a fancy term. Some people say I say diastasis. The girl on that podcast calls it diastasis.
Yeah,
there's so many ways of saying it. I say diastasis recti because it sounds cool. That's basically when the abs separate. It's pretty common in most women that their abs will separate to a small degree. What we don't want to do is we don't want to do movements that are going to reinforce the abs separating. So movements, we'll talk about specific ones a little bit later, but kipping movements, sit-ups, anything that's kind of like dynamic core movement, we want to avoid. It might feel better, like some women it might not feel bad, like you might not have a bad feeling, but it's going to promote the separating of that abdominal wall, which we want to avoid for future problems that we'll talk about.
And just, this is on that, for like diastasis recti or diastasis recti, whatever, however you want to say it. It's like he was just saying, it actually is 100% natural in every pregnant woman. How else can we make room for babies to grow in our bellies? Our bodies have to expand and our muscles have to stretch, our organs shift, our ligaments move. If you did an x-ray on a pregnant woman and pre-pregnancy, your body does not look the same. It's crazy. And so the fact that your abs will naturally separate is completely fine. Diastasis recti, like as Reza will probably speak to, is after you've had your baby and after you've given yourself efficient time to heal, which can be up to a year. So I would caution anybody to, before they jump on sort of self-diagnosing, or anybody who would want to diagnose you, before you've given yourself time to fully recover from the physical elements of birth and pregnancy. So it's defined by more than a 2 centimeter gap. If you were to like measure, you'd feel your ab walls. I'm not going to go into how you do that. But it's super important to know that that's normal. And so if you've had your baby and then you're feeling your abs, or like Lex can even, like every pregnant woman's body is different, so Lex can kind of feel her, as she was saying, with her baby in her belly still. And not every woman can feel that. But don't let yourself panic too much if you're still pregnant or if you're in that early postpartum, that you have this unfixable issue. That's not the case. It's completely treatable, and quite honestly, diastasis recti is not the core issue. It's always related to some kind of pelvic floor dysfunction or a change in your pelvic floor muscle groups that just need to be maybe properly realigned. I mean, your body just went through trauma physically after having a baby, so it makes sense that maybe it didn't quite know how to put things back the way it was before.
That's all for the second trimester. The third trimester is 24 weeks till baby comes. Balance is going to be off. Okay, so now you're significantly larger. Your balance is going to be off. So if you were, doing a squat clean or a snatch, time to kind of toss that out the window, and we'll look at some other modifications for those movements. Anything that's going to test your balance, and we do that a lot here at NCR, or if you find yourself in a gym, we do test our balance a lot. So we just want to be aware of that. We're significantly heavier at this point. Relaxin is a hormone that is released during the third trimester, typically towards the end of the third trimester. Basically what that does is it kind of lubricates the joints and gets them ready for pregnancy. What most women find is that they're a little bit more flexible. Sometimes that brings on some pain. SPD, symphysis pubic dysfunction, is an example of something that you might experience where basically like your pelvis starts to kind of separate a little bit at the bottom. Again, getting ready for labor, completely normal, but you might experience a little bit of pain. If you guys are experiencing pain, it might be a good time to kind of hang up the shoes and just wait till baby's out and before you revisit exercise. Remember, we don't want to, if it doesn't feel good, we don't want to do it, and we don't want to injure ourselves during pregnancy, right? Absolutely not. Like, again, you have not gone through labor at this point, so you don't want to make labor more challenging than it's going to be. Actually, on the way here, I was saying how don't worry, I feel like I'm starting to catch a little bit of a cold. And Lex was like, stay the fuck away from me because I don't want to go in labor sick. Because like labor's it's not an easy thing to do, right? So any added stress is not going to make it easier, right? I think if she does catch my cold, she'll forget about it during labor. But the baby's pressing on organs, so it's getting crammed in there. As Mal just talked about, like there's not a lot of room for things. So something that like 2 weeks ago was super easy, like walking up the stairs. We witnessed this, like walking up the stairs. Sometimes it's like, why am I so tired walking up the stairs? Baby's pressing on your lungs and like all that jazz. So that might happen. If that happens, again, like might not be, if you're really tight on breath that day, like might not be a good time to go to the gym. This is super, like, especially towards the end, like hit or miss. If you're feeling great, I hate it when women do this, and my wife did it to me last weekend. When they're expecting in 2 weeks, they come to the gym because I'm just like a nervous mess. But if, you know, the right answer there is if you guys are feeling good, there's technically nothing wrong with it. Even though you're extremely large and you're expected to pop, exercise will actually promote labor. So if you're, you know, you hit your due date and you're kind of getting antsy, exercise might help get things going a little bit. Yeah. So remember, guys, I covered a ton of stuff here. I'll give you guys a chance to ask questions. Post-pregnancy. So Mel talked a little bit about the pelvic floor. I like to kind of, the pelvic floor is essentially like the lower abdominal wall. And if you think of your abs as like a unit, like a system, they work together. So if you've had that separation here, you might experience pelvic floor stuff. If you might not have it here, you might have it here. This whole unit needs to be working together as one to work properly. So
and males also have pelvic floors. It's not just a female thing.
Yeah.
All bodies have pelvic floors.
Yeah, the lower abdominal wall is like the least exercised muscle in the entire body. So you know, movements that we do like GHD sit-ups and like L-sits and stuff like that, those exercise the lower abdominal wall, but we're not good at them, right? Like we don't know many people that can hold an L-sit for 3 minutes. So a common symptom, and the girls were talking about this before, but like peeing your pants. We have a lot of moms who have had babies, especially moms who've had several babies. Like when they do movements like double unders and stuff, some of them will pee themselves. I remember this is I forget her name, but she was a regionals competitor. Don, you might remember. It was a long time ago, like 2013, maybe 2012. But she was doing box jumps, and she completely peed all over her box. And she had 2 kids, I believe. And she peed all over her box. And I remember it was at regionals, and like they were filming it, and it was like, oh my god, what's happening? And the like cleaning crew came out, and she like pushed them away, and she's like, I'm cleaning up my pee, like, anyway. But that's a common symptom of like a loose pelvic floor. Like a little bit. Some women call it like a dribble. Other women call it, like some women, like it's like a lot. For those of you who come to NCR, like whenever I write double under on the board, Regine reminds me that she needs to go put a pad in her underwear. And it disgusts me, but that's what she needs to do. And I'm sure you guys have heard her say that before. But so if you guys are experiencing, and this kind of goes back to what Mel talked about at the beginning of this little seminar, if you guys, that's not normal. Okay guys, that's not normal. Get that fixed, all right? I'm not a professional in that department, so we do have a couple of women here who are pelvic floor specialists. Meg Blanchard is a pelvic floor specialist, if you guys know who she is, but see a professional and they will help you with that.
I know local people,
yeah,
so I
I'm
can
sure
refer you to them.
Mel knows tons of people too, but like just these are things not to like ignore.
Yeah,
right?
don't take them lightly. You shouldn't ever, male or female, feel that you should just live with a dysfunctional body. That just simply is not something that you should think is your norm. With that said though, and I think Reza and I are both equally like passionate about this, we can't, in any facet of life, in any area that you're choosing to do, if you don't want to do something or if you don't want to like learn more or whatever, then that's fine. So if you like are kind of okay with thinking that you should just pee, you know, whenever you do your double unders or your box jumps, or maybe it's not peeing, maybe you have painful sex. You know, every time you have sex, it's like, oh, it hurts a little bit. And, you know, that has a whole other world of emotions and things that we would, you know, talk about. But any kind of discomfort or physical change that you are thinking, well, that fucking sucks. I had a baby and now I've got painful sex, or now I pee when I go for a run, or like I just can't hold my pee for very long. You know, maybe it's not even physically induced. Maybe you just like you gotta pee when you gotta pee. You know, it's so many little things are unfortunately in our society right now. Like we just think that that's normal. Women talk about it almost like brag worthy. You may have come across women who are like, yeah, well, I pee every time, and it's sort of almost like, well, I'm tougher or whatever, and that's cool, that's fine. But I feel super passionate, and Reza, I think, equally feels passionate about just letting women know, letting people know that you don't have to keep thinking that. You could, and if you've been thinking that way, that's fine, but there is pelvic floor physiotherapists. There are trainers like Reza. There are people like me, a doula, if that is what you have in that phase of your life. There are support networks out there to help get you the help and the right answers so that you don't have to keep living with that. So I think that's more where we're coming from, is this whole info night stemmed with just wanting to share like a safe space and the information that we've learned and that we're super passionate about. Like maybe it's kind of obvious. So yeah, like it's just really letting you guys know that this world of pelvic floor health and working out when you're pregnant, it's all quite new. Maybe we can all kind of attest to that. Like knowing that there are resources to help you at any stage of anything is kind of new in the last couple years. And so we're part of that movement, and we're just here sharing that information with you guys so that you know that if that time in your life comes, you know, it's not something that we all have to sort of like live in shame over anymore. We can talk about it, and it's not weird, it's not TMI, at least for people like us, you know, and that's kind of what we're here to tell you guys, is there are professionals out there that aren't gonna shame you and aren't gonna make you feel weird or tell you that that's just what you gotta live with, and oh, that's not my problem. Like, no, we can totally help you. We want you guys to feel your best, and so that goes for you who are here and everybody who's watching. But yeah, it just, if you guys even took one thing away from tonight, it would be, oh, I learned a little bit more about there's ways to work out more safely when I'm pregnant and after I've had my baby. Yeah, that would be the best.
Yeah, one thing I just want to talk about C-section, and just like generally like when do we work out? I think most doctors will say 6 weeks is like kind of a healthy time to work out. You might have had like a breeze of a pregnancy, and they might be like, no, if you're feeling good, you can start slowly when you're ready. Whatever your doctor tells you is generally what you guys should listen to. They're out for your, you know, they're looking after you guys. But when you do come back, obviously come back gradually, right? If you come back and you feel great, that's cool. Again, I don't want to see a PR for a couple weeks. You know, I want you to ramp back up to where you were, and then eventually, you know, off and away to where you plan on going. I just wrote C-section, post-pregnancy. C-section, they go right through your abdominal wall, so the recovery is a little bit longer, a little bit more intense. You know, if you don't have any pelvic floor issues, C-section might, like, for sure have some, so just be aware of that. Yeah. I'm pretty much done talking about that stuff. I was going to go over some like common movement modifications that we would typically give for pregnant women. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions about any of that?
We want you guys to we want this to be about you guys talking, so like anything that came up that you want to ask about, or...
I've had the experience of coaching several pregnant women, and I've actually learned from a lot of my mistakes. You know, one of the women here, she wanted to do rope climbs, and she was, you know, very talented athlete. You know, can I do rope climbs? And I was like, I don't know. And you know, I kind of asked myself, like, I can't even picture this girl falling off a rope. And I was like, you know what, fine, do rope climbs. And she did rope climbs, and everything was well. She didn't fall. But you know, later on in my research, I realized like that's a big no-no, and you know, that's how I learned. So you know, if there's any questions you guys have, like, should I do this? Can I do that? What about this? How about that? Ask them.
I guess another thing to add would be dizziness.
Mm-hmm.
So dizziness isn't mentioned there, but I know that a lot of us often feel dizzy.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that if you do feel dizzy, it's totally okay to just take a break, take a sit, and just regain your kind of center. That's something that maybe the rope climb thing would
Yeah.
You don't want to be rope climbing if you are dizzy.
Yeah, and you know what? Doing anything when you're dizzy probably won't feel good. So yeah, like Mel said, just like take a break. One more thing I want to add is this good little thing called baby brain. I'm gonna tread very lightly right now. when women are pregnant, they well, maybe you can talk about what baby brain is.
So
and I'll just relate it to exercise.
You really are just going through so many. I'm going to explain why. Because baby brain is what it is, but there is a reason for it, so I'm justifying it. You're going through so many hormonal changes that you're maybe a little bit forgetful, or like it takes you a little bit longer to make common sense of things that would be very easily understand before you had a baby. So you know, you're in a whole other place in life. So yeah, like baby brain is normal and fine, and if you want to blame it all on baby brain, I think that's okay.
And what it is just like, I don't know, like I would describe it as like clumsiness.
You're a little bit clumsy,
forgetful.
a little bit forgetful.
Some women are super emotional. She doesn't want to come up.
She's nervous. She thinks she's interrupting. Just let her to come up.
Okay. Tell her to come up?
Yeah.
Ree, you can come up! Nate's not having kids anytime soon.
No.
But yeah, baby brain. So like, you know, just something to be aware of. You know, you might totally feel capable to do something, but you know, you're not. Yeah.
I think what Rez is saying, or
I'm talking more physically. Like,
yeah, like
you might look at a box and be like, oh, I got that, and like not clear the box. Like, so just be aware that like things aren't working like they normally do. Emotions are pretty intense too, and I think as a coach, it's extremely valuable for me to know that women are susceptible and vulnerable to these things. I've had a couple instances where women have just like left my class in tears, and I was like, Jesus Christ, what did I do? Like, I'm such an asshole. Did I say something? Did I do something? And it was just like, no. I was just like, you told me to get a little lower in my squat, and that really triggered me. And I'm pregnant, so like that made me really upset, you know? And it's like, okay. And it doesn't make any sense, but you know, again, hormones, emotions. So if you're pregnant, just realize that like that's normal. As a coach, we understand that. We're not going to hold it against you. There's no reason to be embarrassed. It happens.
Something Reza said that I realize here we're talking and we're like filling up this question time that we wanted to give you guys, but I mean, cut us off if you guys have anything.
If you guys don't have questions, that means we did a good job.
I guess. But yeah, so what I wanted to add though is that sort of this idea when you're pregnant, like as a doula, I meet with you, you know, however many times you book me for in your pregnancy. And separate from that, we're texting, we're talking on the phone, we're emailing, you know, however we choose to communicate. And so we're building a relationship, and it's cliche and cheesy, but it's really true. I'm a pregnant person's BFF. And so what does that mean? I talk about anything and everything with you, and it's never annoying, it's never too much for me. I want to share that information with you. And so if you are going through all of these changes in your life, you know, it's important to kind of realize that every other aspect in your life is inevitably going to change in some way or another. Maybe not a lot, maybe just a little bit, and maybe all that needs to change is your mindset. But everything in your life will be different after you have a baby. So going to like working out, changing your mindset from day one, as soon as you know you're pregnant, if you're choosing to live an active lifestyle throughout your pregnancy, which you should because it's healthy, that, you know, shifting your motivation for why you're working out is really important, because then you're going to start seeing working out as a different thing. It's something that's benefiting you and giving you strength so that when you go into labor, you can do labor. When you then have your baby, you're physically able to keep up with your baby. Any mom here can attest that you are bending down more times in a day than ever in your life. You're carrying consistently a 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40-pound human for like 2+ years all day. Or you're pushing a stroller, or you're pushing a shopping cart with kids in it. There's a lot of movements throughout your day that are going to be physical tasks. So if you kind of just shift your whole mentality about working out to being functional movements, and that's where Reza and your coaches are all going to help you achieve those goals. So that, you know, working at getting from, say, a seated position to standing up, that's something you're going to be doing a lot. So shifting your motivation, instead of doing like dumbbell presses, and I'm not the coach, right? So like I feel a little silly even calling any of these movements, because I don't even know if that's what they're called. But you know, doing something that isn't going to necessarily serve you in your new life as a parent is maybe something to think about, like shifting your activities and your movements so that they serve you to the fullest of their ability when you're living your day-to-day life as a mom or as a dad, or, you know, yeah, that's what all of this is. It's just like helping you understand that your body's going through changes, so you just have to make some adjustments, and then you can keep working out. You're just working out differently, and that goes with your mindset, not just your physical movements.
Sweet. I'll talk a little bit about some common movements. Not too many, but just some movements that I found like really helpful, like that are challenging for pregnant women, and just like how to scale them. Cool. So deadlifts. When women, you know, obviously they have a bump, and sometimes it hangs low. Like Lex's bump is super low. So like when she deadlifts, especially if the athlete's arm's a little bit shorter, it actually hits the bottom of the belly. You don't want that. So what we'll do for a pregnant woman there is just go to like a sumo stance deadlift. The bar sits a little bit lower, clearly away from the belly. This is oftentimes a little bit more comfortable for the woman too, because they're a little bit more upright in the deadlift, and it takes a little bit of pressure off the lower back. Pull-ups. I usually just go to like a ring row, or you know, banded pull-ups are an option, but I don't like it when you're fiddling with the band and you're trying to, you know, like there's a risk of falling, so I kind of just go away from that. Self-assisted pull-ups on like a lower pull-up bar. That's where you just kind of have the pull-up bar here. You keep your feet on the ground, and you just kind of you dictate how much weight your arms take. Handstand push-ups. We want to try and avoid those. Again, a risk of falling while upside down.
Did you say handstand push-ups?
Yeah.
Yeah. So inversions in pregnancy is okay, but like if you've never done an inversion or a handstand push-up before, definitely do not start doing that in pregnancy. I mean, the basic medical reason for that is you're changing your blood pressure, and yeah, you just don't want to try that.
Yeah, totally. And I think even if you're like an ex-gymnast, like I would just kind of stay away
I
from
would just
it.
say like,
yeah, like it's kind of not.
You could do something else.
Yeah, so I would have you guys just do a dumbbell press like most.
There you go. See, dumbbell press.
Burpees, we just do like the plank style burpee, where you don't go all the way to the floor. Again, I've seen women, very, very pregnant women, go all the way down. Babies came out totally fine. You know, I'm not recommending that you do that, but you know, basically just kind of bring yourself to this position and then come back up, jump and clap. If that gets a little challenging, what you can do is use like a bench or a box and just kind of push yourself off. And there's so many modifications. Like if that doesn't feel good, we could just get you guys on a bike. You know what I mean?
And working out, like Reza was saying, having a coach present to give you those on the spot modifications or tips is really the best way to be active and to work out during pregnancy and afterwards. You know, unless you are trained yourself, or like, you know, you've done a ton of trainings before and then maybe you're having like a one-off solo session or something, it's super important that you're being monitored by somebody who knows what to watch out for. So all of these movements are fantastic, and then you have Reza or your trainer wherever you go being there, being like, oh, why didn't you try this? Like the modification you just showed. So
all our coaches are pretty well versed in pregnancy speak, right, Nate?
yeah.
Right. Olympic weightlifting movements, we always tell you guys to keep the bar super close. Kind of hard when you have a big bump. What I do, just because I like, you know, if you guys start doing this, and a lot of women can do it and it's fine, but now you're kind of like not doing the movement properly, so what I do is I just give you guys dumbbells. Dumbbells stay like to the side of the body, clear of the belly, and they're a little bit easier to handle. They don't require as much like stability as a barbell. Running might feel good, it might not feel good. If it doesn't feel good, a scaling option could be like a sled push. You know, not a super heavy sled, but just something that's not going to have you like bouncing up and down, just kind of running. You can also just hop on a bike, especially at this gym. We just got 10 of them, so easy fix. Skipping. Usually women don't like skipping when they're pregnant, like especially later on in the pregnancy. So again, a sled push or like a 45-pound plate, just kind of step up and down on that plate repeatedly. That usually is a good substitute. Bench press, we avoid it, so we just go to like a strict press or like a push press, something like that. Dynamic ab movements, sit-ups, GHDs, toe to bars, planks are really good. If planks don't work, we can just replace them with a completely different movement. You know, what did we scale? What did we scale Lex to?
I do side planks or like
Shoulder taps,
being in a
yeah, we
plank
do
and
shoulder taps, like
shoulder taps,
high
yeah.
plank, touch your shoulders, stuff like that.
How strict is that one though? Because like I've had a lot of moms tell me that they want to keep kipping and they kip for a long time.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that's a really good question, Nate, for the guy who doesn't plan on having kids anytime soon. Glad you asked that.
That's not real hard.
The risk of kipping, guys, again, like as I mentioned earlier, it's just you're reinforcing that diastasis recti, and we want to try and avoid that. We want it to happen naturally and not force the abs to separate. So some women don't care, right? And usually the thing that scares me a little bit there is it's not always a feeling, like you know, like, oh, I feel good, but it's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and you're just kind of
I did a lot of kipping when I was pregnant. When I was super pregnant,
Yeah.
it felt good to have this huge belly pulling me in my kipping motion.
Yeah.
It was like the best kipper ever. But I think that it exacerbated some like diastasis, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually, there you go. So you've heard it from someone who's experienced that firsthand.
And like what Reza was just saying is that it's super important. If you don't care, like you just said, some women are like, fuck it, I don't care. I want to still do the pull up
Kipping, yeah.
the kip. Cool. Like you do the kip, and then maybe unfortunately you'll deal with whatever that may or may not do to your body postpartum. Yeah, exactly. But so I'm just like highlighting that because that was like, yes, like that was a huge takeaway. If you guys took away anything, once again, I sound like a broken record. Say it's that you can make these decisions for yourself, but just knowing this information is helpful. Knowing that you may never feel any discomfort in your body your whole pregnancy. You may never even say, oh, I feel pressure on my pelvis. Like you may be a unicorn pregnant person, and that's fine. You may also deliver your baby and then have bladder prolapse, which is your pelvic floor is, you know, essentially muscles, and if those muscles stretch and then don't come back together properly, maybe every time you sneeze you don't even know or don't feel it, but your bladder the organ itself pushes out through your pelvic floor, or you have like intestine prolapse. You could have a lot of things, or you pee. Like you may never know that those things are happening, but being aware that your body is going through so many hormonal and physical changes, so that if you could just modify your movement in the first place to not engage those muscle groups ineffectively, then you're just saving yourself so much maybe treatment and physio and working out and discomfort down the road. You know, it's more just like knowledge is power. So if you know better, then maybe you do better, and maybe not. Maybe you do the kips and you don't get diastasis recti, and you don't pee when you skip. You know, maybe you don't have any of that. And
Maybe you're
great.
20 years old when you're pregnant.
Yeah, maybe that too. Maybe that too.
You know a lot better.
But yeah, just like knowing that the range of normal is huge, and that once you understand the mechanisms of how our bodies work, that, you know, doing a kip is like super engaging your core, then it sort of becomes easy to understand, like, yeah, I would rather not do that movement.
I wish I had known. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just
I know a
knowing,
little
yeah.
bit more, so it's good.
Having said that, like everything we do here is like a CrossFit's our core to extremity strength and conditioning program. So I feel like it's safe to say that they've probably come back together quite a bit from just like doing CrossFit after the fact.
Yes, but there's
Still a little bit of separation.
Yeah.
So diastasis recti specifically is sort of interesting because the creation of the gap itself is not the issue. It's a symptom of a pelvic floor dysfunction. And so bridging the gap back together is not always the best solution and the best way to approach it. So I'm not sure, I hate to use you specifically as an example, but if we're talking about you, understanding that closing that gap is great and fine, but there may be some pelvic floor, maybe your pelvic floor is too tight, or maybe it's too loose, that further down the road, subsequent pregnancies, or not even pregnancy, subsequent births or subsequent postpartum periods, it could arise at any time, could reemerge, and that situation maybe present itself differently. So it's just important to understand that like all of those core things that we've been touching on are all related back to the pelvic floor, which I said too earlier, it's a newer thing. Even in Ottawa, there are several pelvic floor physiotherapists, but they themselves will tell you that they're emerging. Like there's a new wave of women mostly who are looking for this type of support. So don't, feel bad if you didn't do that before, or if you didn't know that it existed. So it's okay, like we're all learning together, and so that's kind of the best part about all of this is we're getting the information as it's coming out to us. Like women, our moms didn't know about this. How many of our moms maybe still have some version of diastasis recti and just think that that's, they sort of like laugh, like, oh, well, yeah, have 3 kids and then you'll tell me when you don't pee and you sneeze, Sort of that idea that that's just how we have to be. And that's okay. Maybe they want to keep peeing when they sneeze, but they don't have to.
Yes, and no laws.
I think someone just activated Siri.
Did any of that rise any questions for anyone? I don't know.
I got one. Yoga. Prenatal yoga or post yoga.
Go for it, man.
What's your opinion on
Is that something you're doing?
I'm trying, man. I can barely sit cross-legged, so I'm really hoping that I can by the time the kid comes.
I would say go for it. If they've like marketed it as pre or postnatal, they probably have done some research, and they're probably, it's probably good for the woman.
Aquafit too.
Yeah.
Aquafit, but it's good because it's like not intense and you can and being in the water.
Yeah.
It's good.
I did postnatal yoga when I had really bad back and hip pain after, and it was the only type of exercise I could do, and it helped a lot. I recommend postnatal yoga.
The only thing I could think about that like I would just be careful of is in the 3rd trimester, when like the joints get super like lubricated and stuff. You don't want to overstretch them, so just be aware of that. One day you might be able to like do a downward dog, like whatever normal, and the next day you're like folded like a pretzel. Like, just be aware of that. You don't want to stretch more than like what the body's used to.
A really nice takeaway that is like a core sort of element of yoga, but that lends itself to any physical activity, is that any yoga class, pregnancy or not pregnancy related, if you've taken one, you can probably speak to the fact that it's big on like mind-body connection. So whoever's narrating the class is, not talking the whole time, but they're gonna say little like things like have you taken a yoga class ever before?
Me?
Yeah. Yeah, so like how they'll say like, no, take a moment to like sink into your body and feel yourself. That idea in pregnancy, like maybe before pregnancy you're a little like, oh whatever, I don't want to listen to her. If I could just encourage you in pregnancy and postpartum, the idea of doing yoga to get better at listening to your body and like taking a moment to sort of not fully meditate, but just take a pause and like, how do I feel in my body, is never more important than when you're pregnant and after. Like when they tell you, oh, like how does this feel? That same mentality. So if you did yoga and then you also do CrossFit, the skills that you would learn in yoga, just like being more in tune with how your body feels when you do certain movements, would totally lend itself to CrossFit or any other activity. If you're working out or you're going for a run, or maybe swimming is your activity, and you're like, oh, like whip kick didn't feel bad last week, and like now it does, and maybe you're in tune to that because something stuck with you from your yoga class. That would be more my like wisdom on prenatal and postnatal yoga, is that it encourages you at a time in your life when most women usually are sort of like looking for that, like they're like wanting to find a way to connect to their body in however way that feels good to them. So try a yoga class. If it feels good to you, great. Maybe that's the thing that kind of helps you through labor too. You never know. So try it for sure. It can't help. Or
Yeah,
can't hurt.
you'll work on your breathing, and like later on in pregnancy, you start to develop a lot of like supernatural like hip pain and like just like things are tightening up. I think yoga would be great for that.
Yeah. It's like it's awesome to complement to anything that you're already doing. That doesn't mean you have to go to a yoga studio. You could pop on a yoga video at home at YouTube. It could be super accessible for you. It doesn't have to be like a yoga, I have to be a yogi. You don't. It could just be like a super simple stretching 10-minute video. YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. YouTube all the way, man. I know I said like Dr. YouTube, but for that kind of thing, that's where it's at, you know? Or again, you could just ask me and I'll send you links. You can pick whatever one you like, so.
Any other questions, guys? Sweet. It's a wrap, mate.